if a syllabus is designed, structured I mean, and we teach the syllabus, there should be very little room to have those type of structured studies as we do have now, where the teacher would have to go back and teach. Because most of that work should have been done in the classroom.
Yes.
Maybe this is not the case. But let's go back to the rationale. For me, the rationale for studies should be, one, to reinforce and to provide remedial for weak areas during the teaching.
Okay.
For example, if you have students who are very weak, you could organize some sort of remedial classes. You could also use it as corrections. Now, we can also move on to the type of study classes that, not study classes, but study, organized studies. One is group studies. You can have that, where you don't even need a teacher.
Okay.
What you need is the students, after school, come in groups and maybe take up topics each. Go do some research in those topics and come back, and each of them would report on what they have and the group would discuss it. That's a way of study.
And how beneficial in that group study?
Very, very. I mean, we applied it when we were at Milton Magai College in Freetown. And it is very, very effective. You find out that you are learning from each other, and it is forcing you to go and do some research. Another one...
what happens when students learn from each other? Do you think they understand better?
Oh, yes, they understand better than like, if you are learning from the teacher, for me, it's a sort of indoctrinating you on what the teacher feels is right. But if you have a group and you are learning from each other, I mean, I think the knowledge is more extensive than, if you depend only on the teacher to give that instruction. I also want to mention about the issue of homework, where you can have independent learning, the student. In the past, this is what used to happen. You are given homework, you go back to the home, and then not only the teacher, but you could also have people within the community or the environment who can help you with your homework. That's a form of study. Independent learning. In those days, I could remember, you go to Banjul then, the electricity was not that much. You go, you find students on the poles, these electric poles, studying for themselves. They didn't need a teacher.
So you mean all the time it's not teacher?
It's not teacher. That is instruction. That is not studies. And unless and until we change that concept,
okay.
Then, sorry.
Okay, so in that case, what do you think is the impact of the school improvement grant?
Well, the school improvement grant, I think, for me, it has two major importance. One is removing some burden on the shoulders of parents. So it's a sort of poverty alleviation mechanism. That is from the parents' side. But from the school side, it is challenging the school to draw out programs that are specific to the school. The needs of the school would be prioritized. And the funds given, I think this is the first time I'm saying it, this is a grant given to primary schools, upper basic schools, and that fund, you sit down and look at your development plan and prioritize what you want for the school. So you find out that with the school improvement grant, it is going to fast track the development and progress in the school.
Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to mention another issue, like you can also have, if you still want the type of studies we have now, why not we have an extended school day? An extended school day, maybe an hour or so, after school, but it is still within the school program.
Yes.
But what pertains now is not that, and maybe we will later come to that.
Okay.
You know, things are happening, and I think we need to address this as parents, as teachers, all for the benefit of the students.
Okay. Okay. So, Dr. Brown, what's your own take on these studies too? It is, what do you say? Do you like Mr. Ndur is talking about group studies?
Yes, I'm a beneficiary to that.
Okay.
And from my own experience, I learn better from my peers than from a teacher. It was like, you know, you have this teacher-people relationship. Teachers are very important. Nobody can undermine the importance of a teacher.
Okay.
Teachers are very important for guiding the students. However, if you take an example of, for those of us who go to local daras, and that's a very good, example of a teaching method. You see what the instructor, the time that the instructor spends with a child, is very small. He gives the child the instruction, and the child goes on his or herself to repeat, to revise his work. Sometimes you refer to your colleagues or other people to be able to learn. But coming to your question, definitely, for me, throughout my educational career, I tend to learn, because teacher is there standing in front of about 40 or even 20 or so. So going toward, through a pace, and that pace may correspond with my pace as a student, or I might be a slow learner. I consider myself as a slow learner. So, but if I go and sit down and reflect, all right, and discuss with my fellow students, because there I don't have that fear. Of course, I'm not saying that we should fear our teachers. Teachers need to be very friendly and so on. But there is always that teacher-people relationship. If I am talking to you as a colleague, Louis, in the same class, I can be free to ask any question.
Exactly.
I will not feel that I may be embarrassed or something like that. And you can be free to tell me. And I can challenge you. If you give me an answer which I don't believe, I can challenge you. And you can do the same thing to me. So I think group studies is something that I have benefited much from my colleagues. And even from my juniors, because they might know something that I don't know. So it's part of a study skill for one to be eager to find out something from anywhere. And it's always, because for a student or for a learner, anytime you feel that you know it all, that's it, you cannot learn. It blocks your own learning. But always feel that you still have something to learn. So you can find out from anybody, from parents, from your brother, from a colleague, and something like that. So as Omar said, definitely I quite agree with him. I tend to learn better from my colleagues than from a teacher. I need the teacher to guide me, but when it goes to revision and some of the work, because there are certain things like from my own experience, maybe we'll come to that. But from my own experience, definitely, I went up to Form 5. I didn't actually know very much. Anyway, but let me give to others.
Mrs. Now, as a veteran teacher, do you think group study, as opposed to instructional or teacher-student relation, is better?
Group studies is not a bad idea, but I also think that there should be good relationship between the teachers and the students for guidance, especially these days, the way children behave in our schools. Now, I would like at this point to talk about to encourage counseling and guiding through discussion with families, so that to encourage the habit of reading. Even reading is very important during study time. Reading, as you know, is the foundation to learning, and it is the ingredients to all subjects. Therefore, failure to read will have a serious setback to all subjects. So therefore, I am appealing to parents that the children should develop the habit of reading at their study time or at home. they can encourage them to read all the time so that they will be able to do their work.
Okay. Well, viewers, just to remind you, Reaching Education Forum, and our topics tonight is studies skills. Dr. Brahma, reflect on your past experience as a student from primary through secondary and university education. How were you conducting your study program after that?